this program. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Modesty and Style in the 21st Century with fashion designer Seher Pirzada. We are so excited to have Seher sharing her artistry and also the whole issue of modesty in fashion with us, which it's a really hot topic. I understand there are literally billions of views of this topic on social media. So we will get into that. But before we get started, I wanted to tell you about a few things Silver Spring Town Center has coming up. We have our Around the World Bazaar this Friday, 5 to 10 p.m. And it's a real exciting night of it's all free. We have at 5 o'clock in the Great Hall, we have Positive Vibrations steel drum music. And in the atrium, we have Lilo Gonzalez singing for a better world with Carpe Diem ukulele, Carpe Diem ukes, the ukulele players and the singers. And that's great for kids. And then at 6:30, we have Orfea Vocal Ensemble, which does the beautiful choral music of Bulgaria and Eastern Europe. And at 7 o'clock, our biggest, most popular event, which we're taking RSVPs for just so we can notify the police department if needed. I keep joking we're gonna exceed the limit, but the Great Hall does hold a lot of people, but we do have hundreds of people coming. How to dance at an Indian wedding, Bhangra Bollywood dance workshop, and so that will be really a lot of fun this Friday from 7 to 8:30. And then we have an all-women's comedy showcase in the atrium at 8:30 and Hawaiian music and hula with Halau Nahona Hawaii. We also have food from around the world. We have Middle Eastern food, delicious food coming, Indian, Caribbean, and an array of vegetarian choices as well, and lots of sweets I know are going to be on hand, are available for purchase. So join us along with all the arts and craft vendors. That's the Around the World Bazaar this Friday in the Silver Spring Civic Building. And then our next event is our Artist Spotlight for April. We have Micro Majesty, Intersections of Art and Science in the studio with Ivan Amato and Michelle Banks, and that's next Tuesday, April 4th from 7 to 8. And then tonight's program, Modesty and Style with Seher, was originally scheduled as part of our Sparkle program, which we do monthly with Silver Spring Village. Our next Sparkle will be behind the scenes of the Supreme Court, Justice Department, and White House with attorney Jonathan Kravis. That's on Wednesday, April 12th. So please join us. And then if you are an artist of any kind, we just need a photo image of your work to show in our virtual community exhibition. It's a virtual art show in celebration of Earth Day on Thursday, April 20th, with artist Marcy Wolf Hubbard hosting that. So you can send your images to me, Lisa at silverspringtowncenter.com, or email me if you want to join us for Friday night as well. Another thing that is worth putting on your calendar is we've been doing these culinary traditions panel discussions with various members of our community, spotlighting a different ethnic community. Our next we did African American culinary traditions last month, which was so much fun. And in April 24th on a Monday, we're doing Arab culinary traditions. It's a panel discussion hosted by community leader Mimi Hassanen. So I hope you can join us. All of our events are made possible with generous support from Montgomery County, United Therapeutics, the Arts and Humanities of Montgomery County, Maryland State Arts, and many others. And now let's get started with the program. I will just tell you Sahar was just on our Women in the Arts panel on Monday night. It was a wonderful discussion. She was with some other women from various creative disciplines. Patricia Sahar Pirzada creates clothing influenced by traditional sources in Africa, Asia, Native America, and Europe. She often uses natural fibers, which she hand prints using the ancient art of block printing, which she learned studying arts in Pakistan. Controlling the placement, intensity, and content of the prints in her limited edition separates and ensembles makes each piece a wearable art treasure. Concentrating on the drape and fall of the fabric, Sahar flatters the figure of all types of women with her simple, unique shapes. Pirzada's work has been carried in Nordstrom, Toast and Strawberries, Origins, C'est La Vie, Metamorphosis, Sankofa, Zawadi, and many other boutiques. Her lines Urban Masala and Sahara have been featured in magazines, books, and fashion blogs such as Ebony, Heart and Soul, The Washington Post, Dubai Times, Pakistani Glamour, Today's Black Woman, Threads of Time, The Fabric of History, Essence Online, Guyana FET, BHF Network, CIAA Africa, and many, many more. Her work has been worn by Sweet Honey in The Rock, Aretha Franklin, Takaya, Crystal Kama, Danny Glover, and others. For more info, visit saharpirzada.com. I will put it in the chat. Welcome, Sahar. We're so happy to have you. And I understand Sahar is
hi, everybody.
You're going to welcome comments and questions along the way? Or you can let people know as you like.
My internet is a little unstable.
A little spotty. Okay, we can hear you now. Okay, take it away.
You can hear me?
Sahar. Yes.
Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Glad you could join us. I am originally from Washington, D.C., and I began a little bit of world traveling. Not as much as I would love. I do spend some time in Pakistan because my husband is from there and we've got family there, and his family's bigger than mine, so I have more fun when I'm there. And the artistry there is very, very interesting. And part of what I do with my block printing is to try and maintain a hands-on approach to fashion. I don't want to really participate in mass production because that is going to be participating in leaving that large footprint on the earth that the fashion industry is actually very guilty of being one of the largest contributors of waste. So working on a small scale, on a limited edition scale, it's a lot of work, but I find it very, very fulfilling and often tiring. The subject that I picked for today really has to do with how women perceive themselves, what gives women power, what is power dressing, and I'm very interested to hear from you, the viewers, what your opinions are, because this subject is a hot spot, because some people think that the word modest is oppressive, and some people think, you know, the total opposite. That's my husband's glasses just flew across the screen. It's like live television. I just want to talk a little bit about myself. I recently participated with the American Craft Council show in Baltimore, Maryland. And oddly enough, I say oddly because I'm a newbie to the American Craft Council, and I won an award, the Artful Home Award, and I was very, very flattered about that. So this is me standing there grinning and being very surprised, winning the award. I have had clothing in Nordstrom. This picture is from about probably 30 years ago, when I was doing mud cloth and I was block printing and doing still using the natural fibers and doing all of those natural things for Nordstrom. And I enjoyed being in that kind of a setting because you're shown to people from all over the place. People come to Nordstrom from everywhere, and everybody seemed to like what I was doing. And I mix a lot of the patterns. I still use natural mud cloth print, which is a hand-dyed fabric from Africa, and then my block printing. So I like to mix all of those things in my work, sometimes using different symbols from all over the world. I'm a lover of fabric in general, so I use all kinds of fabric. I really love Ankara, African prints from different parts of Africa. And I like to make contemporary clothing that does not look like a costume. These things should be customary and easy to wear for all kinds of people, not only targeting one kind of people. I don't believe in the, there's a whole thing about cultural appropriation. I think everybody can wear anything as long as they wear it with respect and give due propers to who the creator of it is, which is the man upstairs anyway, man or woman upstairs. So this is one of my one of the things I'm really well known for in this area of the DMV is my wrap coats. I make them in all kinds of fabric, but the favorite seems to be fleece. And I hand block print the fleece, and I cut first and then print and then make. This is me at work in my old apartment, in my kitchen. Artists, as you probably know, can work anywhere. It's nice if we have a maker space, but we don't always have a dedicated space. So we work where we can work. Camilla's entering the room. This is that same coat that you saw on the table drying. So I usually let my pieces dry a little bit first and then hang them up to finish drying. Sometimes use the hair dryer to get a move on. And I didn't put in a picture of my blocks actually. Let me see if you can see. You can kind of see them sitting here, but you can't really see the block. I'm sorry, I didn't put a picture in, but I have my blocks carved in Pakistan by master carvers. It's all they do is carve the blocks. They don't design the blocks. They will take my design and tell me what's going to work as a good print. If I need it in 2 or 3 colors, they can tell me how to split up the design to get several different colors. I actually have more fun using a whole block with a whole color. Like, as you can see, I've, just used a different block when I want to use a different color. This is another style of the same coat. It's a short jacket and it can be worn belted. And the collar comes up as a hood. And people seem to really enjoy wearing this style. And I do it even in solid colors. Although that's not my favorite. This is a repeat pattern that I do. Some are art prints where they're just one of a kind and I don't do the same print. I might use the same elements, but I don't do the same print. And then they're all signed. Each one is signed. Even these are signed because the blocks are proprietary. They're my blocks and I place them the way I want to place them and I sign each piece. This is a new addition is appliquing the old fleece. I have, great bags of fleece scraps. So to maintain being part of the sustainable fashion world that is hopefully growing, I've started appliquing, and it's just all freehand, no pattern, just what I feel like doing, where the fabric scraps kind of lead me, and then they're applied. I love border prints, so I very often focus a lot on the borders. So this is also fleece. This is a floor length. It's actually calf length on my tall model. But this is a long coat, again with the border print, reflecting again the mud cloth, kind of a pattern, kind of an influence. And this kind of a style is really nice for day or evening, but it's really a nice evening coat because it covers, all the way down. You could have a really nice solid color to wear, over your evening piece. Evening coats are kind of not a thing anymore. You can't really buy them off the rack. And all of my pieces are generally either special order or limited edition. This is from a recent presentation at the Sandy Spring Museum, where we were talking about culture and fashion and the influence of culture on fashion. And I'm showing this jacket it's actually a piece cut from a quilt made in Pakistan. And I like to use the fabric in a non-traditional way. That traditional fabric is mostly used for bed covers, but I like to take the bed covers and make fun clothing out of them. And this piece is really just a scrap. I make full-length coats out of this fabric that you see here up at the top. And then I've mixed it with mud cloth print and a totally different mud cloth inspired print. Again, all 100% cotton. The black part is linen. So I mix the fabrics, and the fabrics begin to take on a blended life of their own as I'm working. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do until I'm doing it. This is, I hope they can they see the full screen, Lisa? Okay, my face and your face and Barbara Nisita's faces, I can see them in front of the screen, but this is another kind of an all over print fabric, and this fabric is rayon. So I like to print on anything, especially if it feels good on the body. So as we move towards spring, I'm working with lighter weight fabrics, and I'm doing an extra thing, especially for Mama Africa, who's on. She asked me to please show some of my work instead of just talking about it. This is another kind of outfit that I think is very stylish and timeless and modest. So, this Ankara jacket could be worn over many, many different colors: black, white, rust, brown, even red, depending on your sensibility. So you can always have those basic undergarments and zhuzh it up with something like a vest. This hand-printed piece it's a short tunic. It's my version of a tunic, is down to the knee almost. So this for me is a short asymmetrical tunic. It's longer in the back, and it features a combination of Adinkra symbols. And this is on gauze, that nice crinkly cotton gauze, very, very comfortable, very lightweight and easy to wear, easy to wash, and doesn't need much ironing. That's really the kind of thing I really like. So what does modest fashion mean? Does anybody in the audience want to answer what they think modest fashion means? Anybody?
Feel free to chime in or write it in the chat.
to me, it's just simply clothing that does not show a lot of skin or every curve of the body. Really, it's just a basic concept. It doesn't have to be an oppressive concept.
Did Auntie Africa, Sharon, did you have anything to add?
Well, I was just going to say that, well, good evening anyway, and I'm so glad you're showing. I'm so glad you're showing. No, I was just going to say, when you asked the question, say how the covered, it means covered. It's modesty being covered, reserved. So that was all. I just put it in the chat.
Okay. And I'll just read from my PowerPoint. Why do people choose modest fashion? Well, the most obvious reason is for religious purposes, but modest fashion is also about imagining style beyond sexuality. So other reasons could include comfort and wearability. There are parts of the body that somebody wants to keep hidden for emotional reasons or for health reasons. Usually, modest clothing is generally appropriate for most settings. My father used to wear a suit on the beach. That's a little much, but then clothing will adapt with the natural weight fluctuations of the body. It's adaptable to more seasons with the layering and the wearing of, different shapes that, pick up one shape after the other when you're layering. It's adaptable that way. It's less focused on fast fashion trends. Generally, modest looks can be a bit more classic and long lasting, and then people do wear clothing that is traditional to their culture or, their culture of origin. So does anybody else have any ideas they'd like to share of why somebody would wear modest clothing? The modesty market is not just a Muslim market, although it is the largest market. It also includes women of different religions and cultures, including women from Mormon, Amish, and other Christian faiths, as well as followers of Orthodox Judaism. Modest does not mean dowdy or boring. Modesty can be exciting and fashionable. Modest fashion is the fastest growing market in the fashion industry right now, with modest fashion weeks all over the world, from Chicago to Dubai. As a matter of fact, as of today, the hashtag modest fashion had 3.2 billion views. That's a lot of people being interested in the whole concept of modest fashion. And that's from all over the world. That's not just the United States. People are using TikTok all over the place. This is the flyer for Chicago Modest Fashion Week. This is Dakar Fashion Week in Senegal. This is Muslim Fashion Festival in Indonesia. I think the clothes are kind of cool. This is Ghana Fashion Week. Just showing you a few. This is also from Jakarta in Indonesia. This is another fashion week. And the clothing generally looks very contemporary. It just isn't showing a lot of skin. And it doesn't have to. This is one of my favorite modest designers, Diane Palangi. She's also Indonesian. She's shown all over the world, not just in Indonesia, but she has a particular take that is very high style and just happens to ring a bell with me. This is a good friend, Alfadi Sednali. He's from Niger. He's a modest fashion designer. And this is courtesy of Dolce & Gabbana. Everybody wants to get in on the act now. So a lot of the designers from Europe are creating in for the modest styles, and there are even shops in Dubai. They have shops in Dubai, and even H&M just came out with a Ramadan collection, which which is very interesting. They started out using some modest models in their advertising. This is Mimu Maxi. This is a Jewish design team. It's a woman and her sister-in-law started designing basics for the Jewish community that could be mixed and matched with things that were a bit more contemporary than what had been available. So they're in Brooklyn, as a matter of fact, and they've become very, very popular. This is Ibtihaj Muhammad. She has her own line. This is our former fencing champion who made lots of news because she, wore her head covered under her, I don't know what the fencing outfits are called, but for some reason, people were all, strange about her wearing her head covered. I'm like, so what's the big deal? Now, I believe that there is something called fashion coercion, where we are actually shamed into wearing certain things. And I don't think that gives us power. American pop culture heavily emphasizes highly sexual imagery of women. They're just starting to do a little more with men. I think Bridgerton was evidence of that. We're bombarded daily with images of women who are dressed, in clothing that seems intentionally provocative. And, while many women seek to reclaim their power by controlling the sexuality of their bodies, there's still not much amplification of women who dress modestly. And I believe that there is a heavy social pressure to dress in a way that sexualizes us unnecessarily. And I think that there should be a middle ground where if you don't feel like dressing that way, if you don't want to attract attention to that part of your body, you shouldn't have to. This cartoon I posted because I found it really funny because it shows two extremes, and those two extremes really hide the person's personality. They're either looking at your body or looking at the extreme covering of your body. So that's where, in my mind, I think that we could come down the middle of that and be alluring and intellectual without attracting the wrong kind of attention. Of course, my daughter, who's in her 30s, would say that I'm body shaming. Does anybody have a comment on that, on the whole body shaming issue?
So
I can't.
I think you're right on it. I think that there are a lot of young women who are coerced into wearing clothing that it's ill-fitting. It reveals more than it's putting out more than you're really ready to, you're not ready to accept the consequences of what they're revealing. It's one thing if you're on stage, but when you're on the street, when we were in Baltimore, these two young ladies came out of the museum with their pants torn up to their crotch. And I wondered what their expectations were. If someone had said something, what would they have done? I don't know. I think we box girls in.
I see Vivian has raised her hand. What do you say, Vivian? Are you muted, Vivian? I can't hear you.
Vivian, she's muted.
Can you unmute her, Lisa?
Yes, she just unmuted.
I just did. People, women should be able to wear what they want. Now, if a man or a woman or whoever get the wrong idea, that's their problem.
Well, how many generations will it take for us to reteach men how to treat us? I think that's the issue. Of course, women should wear what they want to wear, but they also have to deal with what Camilla said, the consequences of what they're wearing. So it does become, I think clothing does become a protective issue, you know, because you can protect yourself from getting a response that you do not want to get. And I challenge anyone who says that if you're wearing something where you are showing a lot of skin, that you're wearing that for a reason. I mean, if I'm wearing something that I think is sexy, it's because I think it's sexy. And if I think it's sexy, I will own the fact that I want somebody to look at me in that way, because otherwise I think I would be lying to myself if I wear something that's really, you know, really form-fitting and nobody looks, then I would be pissed because that's what I would be expecting. So I don't think we're saying that women shouldn't wear what they want. I think they should be able to go in any direction that they choose to and not be pressured either way.
Well, people should mind their own business. If the other people wear what they want and then they're gonna criticize somebody else, there shouldn't be anybody saying anything about anybody, because this is America and people gonna make their comments whether it's right or wrong. So just mind your own business.
Well, and that's one way to look at it, Vivian. Anyone else?
Well, I just want to respond a little bit to what she's saying. It's not just about minding their own business. Wish that it were that way, that people could wear what they wanted and people could mind their own business. The problem is that these girls are at risk. That's the biggest issue that I have. And in some communities, they are being trafficked and trafficked heavily. They're being killed and killed heavily. And at the same time being forced to dress provocatively. And we have to ask ourselves, what is it that we want for these girls? What is it that we want for women? I'm dealing with a population now of Native American women, and there are lots of them that are disappearing. There are Latin American women who are being trafficked for their bodies and forced to dress. You know where they're being, and do you know where they're picking up their johns? At places like the high school, the supermarket, the laundromat, and their dress signals their availability. So we have to think about it. It would be wonderful if we could live in a society where it was a free-for-all and you could do what you want, but that's not what's happening. And it's compounded by how the media tells you to look at these women. That's the unfortunate thing.
Sharon also has a comment or question, and Sharon's also an anthropologist in addition to being an artist.
Okay, yeah, and I wanted to take it from that perspective because I hear what I'm hearing. And as a cultural anthropologist, and I've studied a lot of different cultures, and just the whole idea of adornment. And, you know, Sahari, I love the work that you're doing because it really it's about adornment, but to make it more contemporary to what we're talking about, I also wanted to add that what people wear, what is happening is, especially for women, is the always the attraction for mating. And when I say mating, I mean, I think you said it, Sahar, it's about attracting to attract sexually in one aspect. But the other part is that every culture has a reason for the clothing and what they wear, the adornment that they pick. And then there's a history about how you carry your culture from one generation to the other that is really always been very important. So it's not just what is good and what is bad. It's not a judgmental thing. But when we cover ourselves, and I have been mistaken as a Muslim. People have asked me, "Are you a Muslim?" And I just tell them, "No, I'm a covered Christian." Okay, and I mean I've been like that all my life. So modesty is, but I think it's important for us to recognize that each Western beliefs are not universal. They're not global. And people have also standards of belonging to a particular culture. And all those things come into, and I see that in your work. So that's what I wanted to say about that.
Thank you. Yes, and Vivian, this is just, we're talking about for those who seek it. So as Sharon said, it's not a matter of being judgmental. It's just really a matter of putting up another offering, another avenue, another way of dressing for those who seek it. Not trying to force anyone or anything, just putting it out there. And unfortunately, we don't have the wherewithal to put it out there the same way the general media puts it out there. I mean, the television is, each show is a half hour or an hour or 2 hour advertisement. You know, people start behaving like what they see on television. And if it didn't work, if advertising didn't work, they wouldn't charge so much money for it. That's how television makes money, is through selling advertising, and advertising works. Imagine if a 30-second ad works, how well an hour ad works. And so there's not enough variety of what we can wear and how we can look. Really, the focus is very heavily on sexuality, and that's fine on one end. There just needs to be balance. That's all.
That may or may not be true, but fact remain is a woman should wear what she wants. She shouldn't be touched because she's wearing what she wants.
Right. Women should wear what they want.
And that shouldn't be an invitation for anybody, male or female, to say anything.
Well, I think if somebody says something, I wouldn't care much, but if somebody does something, that's a different thing. And unfortunately, everyone, so many people seem to want to do something. And I think that's what I like to avoid. I try to protect myself in general. I watch my back when I'm walking down the street, because I don't want to be preyed upon. So I do certain things to protect myself. And the offering and the suggestion for a little bit more modest dressing is just that. Unfortunately, as Camilla said, people do respond, whether we intend for that response to happen or not. People respond to what you wear. People make assumptions about, and of course they shouldn't make assumptions, but they do make assumptions about who you are, and what you do, what you think. If you're dressed in a certain way, they assume that you're a hippie who smokes weed. If you're dressed in a skating skirt, they figure that you must be going skating. People are, this country and every country, they're places of uniforms. So certain uniforms mean certain things, and perhaps not rightfully so, but that's the way people carry on. So people make assumptions about people that they shouldn't make.
It's also body language too, because somebody could have a blanket wrapped around them, and their body language, it could be saying, "I want you to come talk to me." So it doesn't matter. I mean, You damn if you do, you damn if you don't.
Well, how can women embrace beauty inside and out without being devalued or dehumanized? What can we do about the dehumanization of women? We are particularly dehumanized. I mean, the other day they found an old woman in a trash can, had been murdered and stuffed in a trash can. This is Baltimore, where I live, and it's, you know, it's really disheartening to think that people think less of humanity to that kind of a degree. It's I found that really sad. I mean, that's aside from all of the other killing, but stuffed in a trash can, and you know, and then people have a lot of issues too. There's a lot of people with a lot of issues, and you can't control those people. One can just control oneself. So how you dress, it does communicate something. And I think we should just be mindful that we are communicating with our clothing. You know, I enjoy wearing things that communicate certain things. I mean, that's why I wear my locks. That's why, you know, people might not know what it means, but they have some idea. And you know why I like to wear what would be called ethnic clothing. I don't necessarily like that term, but clothing from many different cultures, you know, because this country is a melting pot. And you know, and it's kind of fun to see how those things can be mixed and enhance one another. I think clothing is fun right now in many ways, because you can wear anything, you know, long, short, you know, there are trends, yes, but almost anything nowadays can be acceptable.
Right, and just to point out and agree with what Sharon has to say, visual assumptions, judgments, and standards are found within all cultural groups. So even modesty aside, we are still constantly judging and being judged by by our appearance, and you know, whether it's you know, how clean you look, or how formal your attire is, how much it's covering you or not, you know, what style even, you know, I mean, you know, we're constantly, whether we like it or not, we're constantly looking at someone. Do they have a good style, or are they dressing weird by what we consider? Even, you know, the whole modesty aside, we're all judging and being judged constantly. And then also the whole weight issue, you know, being larger, the appearances, you know, it's just a fact of culture.
Yeah, and I think now people are a bit more accepting of people of all weights. We're no longer looking at someone who's not a slender size as something to be, you know, gawked at or laughed at, or you know, that fortunately is changing. And there are a lot of designers who specialize in full figure clothing, and you know, and now more and more fashions are coming in all kinds of size ranges, and even whether you're tall or short. You know, there used to be it used to be very difficult for women who were tall to find clothing, and it's still difficult in all those areas, but there's a lot more available now. And you know, I think if you want to be a modest dresser, it really is just a matter of a few simple changes, adding a few essential things to your wardrobe that make it easy for you to, you know, throw something on in the morning. And probably most of you already have most of these things on the list in your wardrobe. You know, long loose tops, you know, tunics, basic dresses, comfortable basic pants, leggings. Although leggings are are still in, and I think leggings will be in forever. I think the pandemic made us all used to wearing more casual clothing since we were in the house more. Leggings have really become a part of everyone's basic wardrobe, because you can always throw on a loose top with that. This is one of my basic dresses. It's just a simple linen dress, and I've shown it with some interesting beaded jewelry. And it's the same dress with a hand-printed linen jacket over it. And it's, you know, it's taking it from casual into the office. You know, you can wear a simple dress like that is comfortable and cool, and it moves with the body, and it still has some sensuality about it, but it isn't anything what I would call vulgar, you know, because I mean, there is such a thing as crossing the line for some people. You know, everybody doesn't, everyone's line isn't the same, you know, and that's fine. You should wear what you're comfortable in. Long vests and jackets, different kinds of jackets. Longer jackets are very in right now, duster styles, which is, you know, a typical modest item. You know, you don't necessarily think of any of these looks as modest per se, because modesty brings to mind, again, something dowdy, something, you know, where you've got on a, you know, just a baggy dress. You know, it doesn't have to be baggy. It can be a little bit form-fitting, but it doesn't have to show every nip and tuck, unless that's what you want to show. If that's what you want to show, that's great. One day I'll have my waist back and I can show my waist. I don't know who took it, but somebody did. This is just showing a simple, basic, loose and comfortable linen, which I also do in different kinds of prints. Sometimes I print on the linen, sometimes I just leave it solid because I want it as a mixer for the Ankara fabric, which I'm so in love with. And you know, the indigo dyeing is a new thing in my life, using natural fibers and natural dyes. I enjoy using the natural dyes. Selling the natural dyes is a different issue, because the natural dyes don't last as long. So people want things that last a little bit longer. Most people who buy my clothes buy them and they keep them. Of course, that's probably why I'm not rich, because I don't make things that you have to repeat again and again. You can add to your wardrobe, but things generally don't wear out. I run into people on the street who say, "Oh, I have something I bought 10 years ago." And I say, "Please come buy something new." One of the trends in modest fashion and in fashion in general is the monochrome trend. Long skirts. It's a big trend, and I don't think people are necessarily thinking of any of these things as being modest as they're wearing them. It's just becoming a general trend. You know, headscarves and all kinds of other head coverings. More people are wearing these things now, layering your clothing for the different kinds of weather that we may encounter. Long sweaters and dusters, as I've said before. You know, I guess maybe 10, 15 years ago, you couldn't find anything really long. It just, you know, it wasn't a trend. So the trend has come back. Shawls have always been a trend, and I don't think that's going away. Shawls are always wearable. You can wear them as head wraps, as shoulder wraps for warmth. You can wear them as skirts. There are, you know, many different ways to wear a shawl that where you can add something special to your wardrobe, making your wardrobe kind of one of a kind. These are just some examples of the monochromatic look that I was talking about, where people are wearing lots of clothing and lots of different colors in the same color range. And this is a trend that is a little bit different. It's different than what we've seen in the past 10 years. Lots of color and print has been the trend. I think that's going to stay a trend, though, for a long time. Lots of color and print. This kind of a skirt, I think this skirt was designed by the Jewish team. It's just a simple tapered skirt that looks good under almost any kind of top. And it's stretchy and comfortable. And it's a nice little slip-on basic that everyone could easily use. You know, it comes in all kinds of sizes and it looks good on every body type. These are also skirts that, again, people wouldn't necessarily say, oh, you know, somebody's wearing this because they're modest. They're just wearing something that's beautiful that happens not to be showing a lot of skin. I love this one with the embroidery. I love circle skirts. I've always loved circle skirts. That's one of the reasons I want my waist back. These
What is a circle skirt, Sahar?
A circle skirt. This skirt here, the blue with the embroidery on it is probably a circle. It's cut. It's actually a whole circle.
Oh, is it like an A line?
No, it's much more than an A line. It's the same distance radiating out from the waist all the way around. I see we have an answer from Barbara.
Yes, a circle skirt would be, from my day, the poodle skirt. That was a circle skirt.
Yep. I don't know if everybody remembers the poodle skirts. I think it's probably even a little bit before I was born in 54. So I loved poodle skirts, but I didn't get to wear poodle skirts. But I have been making circle skirts for years and years and years. Just because I think it's a wonderful feminine look. And, you know, people might take issue with the use of the word feminine, but for me, I'm a she, her, and I'm feminine.
I'm quite a bit older than you, so I very well remember the poodle skirts. I was too chunky to wear it, but they were very popular and they look cute on.
Yeah, I thought they always look good on whoever was wearing them. And a lot of my show of the moment is the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and it's mainly because of the clothes. That time period where everybody was wearing, everything was a circle. Everything was a circle dress. Wonderful clothes and colors. Amazing colors. These are just, you know, basic pants that probably the newest style is this lantern pant, which has come on the scene recently. A lot of palazzos have been worn maybe over the past 10 years. I stopped making a lot of palazzos because I found myself tripping in them. So, you know, I said, let me, you know, be careful. So I've trimmed down the palazzos, and I'm enjoying the lantern pant because I like that taper in. The gray ones look like almost like bell bottoms or flares, which is always complimentary. But those kinds of simple pieces make for a nice base to which you can add some of my kinds of flare pieces, or many of the flare pieces that you might find in the open market today. I think Camilla has a lot of my flare pieces, and so I know you're a fan, Camilla, and this is just a picture of iconic leggings that are so popular with everybody. And everybody can wear leggings, but I think everybody doesn't. You know, I like to wear my leggings with a longer top, you know, and maybe again, that's, you know, because I'm conscious about my waist. I think there is a divide between us. I don't like to really focus on age, but we used to wear undergarments that kind of kept the body in place, and the young people, you know, made us understand that that was uncomfortable. So you know, I don't know if they even sell too many girdles anymore. We used to call them girdles. I guess Spanx is probably the closest thing now to a girdle. So, I mean, people are wearing, you know, body shapers to try and, you know, and give some shape, but I don't think we should overdo it. So, you know, there is a medium between, you know, being uncomfortable and comfortable, you know, and I think that designers too also have to be aware that women have to actually wear the things that they design. And, you know, a lot of the designers are males, for those who don't know. And they don't have to wear heels. More of them are wearing heels now. I'm glad they're wearing heels now, so they can maybe design something that's not so uncomfortable. So since they want to wear them. But I think that, you know, designers also have to be very aware of the three-dimensional body and what is comfortable to wear, as well as being amazing and beautiful and, you know, creatively designed. You know, I think we can all be creative without being uncomfortable. You know,
The
so
other pant that you make that's really fun is that we used to call them the harem pants. I could wear those up and down, meaning dress them up or dress them down. They're very versatile.
you mean gathered at the ankle?
Gathered at the ankle or tapered at the ankle.
Yeah. Yeah, I like them tapered more than just gathered, because sometimes, again, that the gather, you can almost trip in it. If you know, if you're not careful. Young people probably never trip, but you know, as we get older, you know, we start, you know, becoming a bit more careful with what we're actually wearing as compared to what we're actually looking at. Is there anything in the chat, Lisa? Let me see. Lantern pants, yeah.
Yeah, I said that I learned that word lantern pants. Mary Ann did have a comment earlier. If people have a right to dress as they want, it's their free speech, but then everyone has a right to express themselves just as openly, leaving it all out there, just as some folks do through their dress. If I can't cover someone up as I might like to, then folks can't shut me down if I make my judgment of the style known. I like to be respectful in dress and speech and let you be you and me be me. And then I had already mentioned Sharon's comment, and Sharon also mentioned with crinolines. What are
Yeah.
crinolines?
Crinolines are well, now they're not made like they used to be made, but they're those slips that we used to wear as little girls under the dresses to keep them poofed out. They're made of heavy netting or heavy tulle. You can get crinolines on Amazon, and a lot of us wear crinolines under our circle skirts, our Ankara circle skirts. You can buy really nice crinolines. Making a crinoline is a pain, especially when you can buy them in 100 different colors. And they're kind of fun. A lot of people wear the crinolines by themselves now because they come in such pretty colors.
Right. So they're made of tulle, like a ballerina.
They're made like, yeah, they're a lot of them are a heavier tulle. Some of them are also made out of
Wiring.
organza.
Organza.
Yeah, out of organza. Yeah. So
Okay.
people still wear crinolines. I sometimes do, as I said, Ankara circle skirts, and put a crinoline. I don't wear the crinolines because I'm already, my waist is already too big to, I don't like the way it looks. I won't say it doesn't look nice on other people. In fact, when I make circle skirts, the very first people to buy them are full figure gals. And I think it's because you can't find them, can't find the circle skirts on the rack. And it does make your waist actually look smaller, you know, because you've got this big skirt coming out. So, you know, no matter what size your waist is, the skirt's going to be bigger. So I like to make sometimes I make them with very wide bands. And I think that helps, you know, keep the stomach in and give a nice line to the way it looks.
Right.
So, yeah, I like dancing and swirling. Mary Ann Hamilton. Is it Marie Ann or Mary Ann Hamilton? Says these skirts make me want to dance and swirl. Definitely. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Please comment, because you know, I'm very interested to hear what people think, and what the other young lady was saying earlier is something that I hear a lot, particularly from young people who are having, you know, fun with their clothing, and you know, they're bold enough to, you know, to wear what they want to wear. And so it's a fun time. Yeah.
Barbara has a comment or question.
I don't think we touched on dressing for business, but it's my experience that if you want to go up the ladder, so to speak, in any type of business, except maybe the arts and businesses like that, you really do have to dress more conservatively and not show a lot of skin, because you are judged.
And what of women who deliberately show a lot of skin in a business setting? I've you know, it's an open question, because a lot of people do think that they're going to climb the ladder, you know, by being sexual in terms of how they dress, you know. And I know everybody has, you know, tried to get out of that parking ticket grinning up at the policeman, trying
Right.
to. So that's all part of the same package. You can't, you know,
I
say
think
that you don't do it, but you know, I totally agree that as I said, there are uniforms, and in business, there is there's a way that you can dress the way you want to with, and you can kind of curb it so that you're showing, if you want to be ethnic, you can, you know, you can wear a little less ethnicity, because you have to deal with people can be offended by things that you just didn't think somebody was even thinking of. I mean, look at how many years it has taken for people to get used to people in braids and dreadlocks. That took years. I know people who were fired for wearing braids.
I think when it's concerning your job, you're taken more seriously if you don't show a lot of yourself, a lot of skin. I just think people take you more seriously. You may be doing the best job of anybody, but if you have low cut blouses and show a lot of your back or whatever, or your legs, you're just not taken as seriously in the business world.
Well, and it's distracting. People are distracted by someone in a low cut blouse leaning over the desk. I mean, you know, if you're, you know, and you should be mindful of that kind of a response. Certainly in business, it's distracting if nothing else. And hopefully people don't say anything, but people do look at what you're wearing, and every kind of job has a kind of a uniform, and if you take a job in a corporate setting and you see that everybody else is wearing business suits, well, there are all kinds of business suits, but you can still work within certain parameters and be creative, but not be distracting or too sexual in the nature of what you're wearing.
True.
Okay, Sharon, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to, because I think without it getting, I know that these are supposed to be light kind of conversations with one another, but without getting too heavy about it, it really is about consequences, about when you're talking about when you make choices. And I think that was something that someone mentioned earlier, that when you make the choices that are made, then also recognize the consequences that come with that. And it really, my daughter and I, for example, we have a thing going. I think I said this to you, Sahar, that I wanted to be a fashion designer, and I adore fashion and clothing and fabric. I hoard fabric like you do, sister girl. But we have a thing because my daughter is a hip hop artist. I mean, she travels around the world. And so we have a line of clothing that I do primarily for her, my wearable art, and we call it legacy wear. And you would think that, there's such a difference between our views of the world, but we also have come to an understanding. So again, it's like, even intergenerationally, there are differences, but there's also a need to recognize that whatever you do, and I'm not going to put my daughter out in jeopardy with what she's wearing, and she knows that. So there's a trust and there's a relationship, but whatever you do, there are consequences. And I think Camilla was the one that talked about that. And we have a generation, we have 2 or 3 generations now who have not been taught about the ramifications of choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be nice if we could just do anything that we and a lot of people do. And I don't think, one gets a lot of blowback in talking about, oh, you're blaming the victim. Well, I don't think it's a blame on the victim. I just think that a lot of people don't think that they're going to get a reaction. Some people, I see young girls jogging, in the park with, the shortest of shorts on, and somebody's going to look, and you don't know whether everyone is mentally prepared to handle life in general, much less when they see a young girl that might be attractive to them, because that's another aspect. If everyone is sane and what we would call normal, then you can kind of say, well, that person should mind their business. But if somebody, what do you do when somebody is having issues, is having a mental problem, or an uncured, untreated mental incapacity, and you don't know who's sitting next to you on a bus, you don't know who's next to you on the street, and and yes, sometimes it doesn't matter what you're wearing. If you run into a crazy person, they're not necessarily always thinking about that, but you just want to fortify yourself in a way that where you're getting the answer that you're looking for with what you're projecting, and that goes for shape and color and texture and all of these things that go into what you're putting on your body, because we're all vibration, and color and sound and shape, though all of those things are vibrating. They're sending out vibrations and messages that are not audible. and you don't know what the response is going to be.
And you also mentioned that America is a melting pot. Some people call it some other things, but anyway, and so you're in an environment where people come from other cultures with other standards and dynamics. And so in America, if you're in America and you're thinking everybody thinks like you, that's not the case. And you have to realize that this country brings in people from all over the world for the good or bad or whatever. And they're coming with their experiences, and especially when we're dealing, this is Women's Month, the whole idea of men with their own thinking processes, they come with different. So, you really have to navigate in a world to be a part of a world.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sharon and Sahar. I think that we're not really dealing with that. The assimilation doesn't happen that quickly. And we just have to be conscious of it. Wish that we were all as free as we think we should be, but it's not that way. I agree with you. We have to be conscious of what we are, of how other people are impressed by what we say. This is a different incident, but it sort of speaks to it. There's a gentleman that belongs to an organization I belong to, and he is dying, and he wanted to have he wanted to euthanize himself, and he had a party online to celebrate his life, and was announced by the head of our section. But the announcement came as if it were a real festive event, and there's no consideration for, the emotional response, the religious response. It was just the popular thing to do. And I think we just really, what does freedom mean? What does it mean in terms of dress? Are you really free when you feel, when Kim Kardashian is one of the leading influencers for dress? Are you really free? I don't know.
Yeah, if I could add to that too, Camilla, like you made a great point, which brings to mind, it's the environment we live in. You really have to protect yourself, just as you would not leave your car door unlocked or your house unlocked. You have to kind of put these protections in place because it's just how society is. So, yes, Susan, let's bring Susan Melnick on.
Yeah, I just have a tiny comment to make, a side comment for the girl running through the park in shorts. I think that is partly on the older people around her, making her aware of that. I mean, you go through a certain age when you're a teenager or something, where it's just fun to try different things, and you're not sort of at the developmental stage where you really realize the impact it's having on the people around you. And you get a lot of pressure. You see all these pictures, on social media or on movies or whatever, of all these other hypersexualized women. We could go into that. I think we should clean up I think we should have cleaned up our media from, I don't know, the 1960s and on, but we haven't. We over-sexualize women so she's getting a lot of innuendo from the environment around her. So having individuals come into her life and say, you know what, that actually has a bad effect on the men around here, and it'd be nice for those to be a few inches longer or something like that. I think it's really important. And we don't always have that. I remember at one point having a slight interaction like that with two adults in my life, one of which was man and one of which was a woman. And the woman was trying to tell me to either wear a different shirt or wear a different pair of shorts. I don't remember the details. And, you know, the man was just sort of laughing it off like, no, 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 you're just being fun or something like that. And I should have paid more attention to what the woman was saying. I was young, and, you know, teenagers don't always realize when you go through that stage of development, the effect that you're having on other people. The woman was the wiser one in that situation. And so we need to use our voices with the younger generation.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you, Susan. We have Heather.
It's
Heather
ether.
Either. Oh, I see. Sorry.
Okay. I want to say it's a couple of things that I would like to say. I was a rape counselor, and back probably about 20 years ago, and dress was not a fortunately and unfortunately, a way a person is dressed did not determine the violent act of rape. That I have to say. But what I also wanted to say was, if we look at our society is, you know, the volleyball players. My granddaughter played volleyball. She's very hippie and have large thighs. And I tried to find volleyball shorts that was a little bit longer. And that's all accepted for some reason or another, which I never could understand, that it was accepted for the girls to wear these the shortest like panty shorts. That's what they were at that time before the thongs came out. And it's okay for them to wear that on the volleyball court. And the girls start wearing them outside of the volleyball court. And that was the traditional wear for volleyball players, even the professional volleyball players. So it's sort of like a two standards here for what is accepted and what isn't accepted. And I know even with my granddaughter, she continued to try to wear these shorts outside of the, you know, the arena. And my daughter, her father, no, we just, you know, put a squash on it, because to me, in my generation, it's just not acceptable. But yet in certain cycle, as the young lady said, the young people, it's acceptable now for them to wear the shortest shorts that I've ever seen, and to see, but also the young men who are wearing clothing that I never thought I would see a young man. I remember when my grandmother had me put a shirt on because I, you know, playing outside in the South at that time. It was hot and we would go shirtless. But when I started getting a little bud, my grandmother had made me put a shirt on, and I couldn't understand that. And I would sneak outside and take the shirt off, and I would get disciplined for that. But I wanted to make those 2 points. One of the points is the clothing as far as rape goes and violent attacks. It really, that is such a low number for a violent attack. I know it's sexuality, and I understand. I do not agree with a lot of the clothing that our young people are wearing today, but that's a misconception to assume that's what's happening, because that's not. When the children, and anyway, I don't want to go too far into that because that's a whole nother subject. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Heather. I believe, did you want to comment on that, Sahar?
Oh, no, I was thanking Either.
Yeah.
I haven't met you either. I know I'm friends with you on Facebook, looking at your art sometimes. But no, I mean, my I guess only comment to that is that
I'm sorry, I didn't face myself. I'm sorry. I didn't. Okay.
you know, I do I don't do a lot of prom gowns, and I deliberately don't do them anymore because I just can't get with ethically, for me, how the young people, how a teenager thinks that she should be dressed like somebody who is a TV star performer. And what you were saying, either, they can wear shorts because that's part of a uniform on a volleyball court. And then, but after that, that uniform is not appropriate everywhere. And that's the same with the clothing that is being projected. I mean, a lot of the women I see try to wear as little clothing as possible. And the same with the prom gowns. It got to be so that it's like, just wear your panties and go ahead to the party, because they don't want to wear a whole dress. There's lots and lots of cleavage. Some of them have a lot of cleavage. Some of them don't have enough cleavage to even show, but they're, interested in the nakedness being more the star than the dress. And I guess I don't understand why it has to be such a public display, in that manner, when you can look fantastic without the attraction being just, oh, look at all of those boobs, or look at all. I mean, and people are titillated, otherwise, what would be the point? There is, I'd like to hear, responses on that, how people need to be more responsible for what they're putting out, and how can we be responsible without feeling oppressed? A lot of people feel like, oh, you're telling me to do this. Oh, you want me to cover my head, so that's oppressive. Well, some people find power in that, so, it depends on the person and how they're brought up. And again, what the elders are saying. And with a lot of the girls with the prom gowns, a lot of it is the parents, because I don't do a prom gown unless the parents come. But, otherwise I might get in trouble later. But, with making somebody a gown that has so much skin showing, but a lot of it is encouraged by the parents, and allowed by the parents. I mean, the parents don't have to allow it, because the parents are generally paying for it. So I'm in a lot of situations, even with costuming, where, the directors are encouraging people to always, have to look sexy. You can just look great and cute, and it doesn't have to just go bam right to that. It doesn't always have to take the eye directly to that. And I think, when you're a teenager and you're trying to control yourself and control your hormones, and, I think every little bit helps. Somebody else had their
Okay,
hand.
great. Yes, Peg had a comment in the chat that she's going to share with us. Hi, Peg.
Hi, Peg.
Hi, Sihar. I've done business with Sihar. I bought one of her
Yes.
wonderful items. It's gorgeous. I was very drawn to it. I was just commenting in the chat about the sexualizing of the workplace. I know that's changing the subject somewhat, but that's what Lisa had asked me to sort of comment on. I was in human resources, and I know for a fact that when women came to the workplace in more, I guess, provocative dress. I remember one girl in particular had her sort of thong panties showing above her pants. That actually brought a harassment from a colleague. And I know that when somebody in leadership wears a little bit deeper, blouses, that shows that it creates a different interaction between her and the rest of the staff. It's sort of, she's not taken quite as seriously. It's taken more as she's trying to get attention for the wrong reason rather than for her skills and abilities. So that's what I was commenting on. Besides, the other comment I'd made, Sihar, is that you just show such an amount of wisdom and common sense in your comments and in your approach to everything you said. It just is so wonderfully centered to what makes sense without any sort of ego. And I really love hearing that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Peg. We have a comment from Jane.
Okay, thank you. So I was wondering how you help people who don't have parents or whose parents aren't around or the parents are not the role models that we would hope.
That's a hard one.
Because
I
those are the
guess
people that need our help, right?
those and even the ones with parents. So their parents. Yeah, there are a lot of people that I don't know. I'm not a social worker, so I wouldn't have a professional kind of an answer.
Mm-hmm.
I would just hope that those of us who can will mentor where we can,
Mm-hmm.
and give information, solid information when we can. I do summer workshops with young people, and I try to. It's usually connected with something in the arts and fashion, and we do deal with some things dealing with self-esteem. But again, sometimes the blowback comes from the strangest places. It sometimes comes from other people who are my peers or slightly younger, who are also teachers, who, who think that I'm crazy for saying that, the eyelashes that you're wearing can cause infections and you just should be aware. I'm not saying don't wear the caterpillars, wear those caterpillars if you want. I used to wear lashes, but my lashes were cute. But anyway, but I think we should be aware, for your own health, what you're applying to your skin, as well as, people who are professionals with nutrition. So
Well,
I think the best we can say is to be able to mentor those that we can mentor.
I bump into so many people that tell me their child stories and how they grew up with this Miss Barbara that I was just talking to. She was one of the older of 11 kids, and she had to take care of every single kid. And she didn't know how you got them, but whenever the midwife came, she knew there was going to be another one, and she thought the midwife was bringing them. And there are so many people that think when they get their period, they don't know what it is. They think they're dying. And that still happens.
That's amazing. I mean, I remember in high school when I put up a thing in the health class. I had photographs of all the different kinds of birth control, and they made me take it down. I mean, this is a health class in a school where in 1972 we had one of the largest classes in Washington. There were, I think, 700 or 800 people, but we had about 30 girls who were pregnant that year, my senior year. Now, if you've got that many people pregnant, then somebody needs to talk about birth control. And a lot of just
that, or
centers-
else the idea that maybe you want to delay, because there are kids. I used to teach special ed. There are kids who want to have the baby then, and that is what they do value. And in fact, I just saw something on Facebook, and bless this family, but there were like 6 generations, and every one of them got in a line. It was, here's my mom, here's my mom, here's my mom, and they all had each other when they were like 14 or 15 years old. And so the next one's going to have another one at 14 or 15, and it's not uncommon in a lot of places. So I guess we need to have people think of what else they might want to do with their lives and help people have some aspirations,
Hmm.
you know?
What
What
do you
else
have
might you
any?
want to do before? One of the teachers across the hall would do this program for maybe 3 weeks where you had to carry a raw egg around with you as if it was your baby. And you had to get a babysitter for it if you were going to play field hockey or something, just to give you the idea that guess what, when you have your baby, it's more than just a cute little thing, you know. And here's something else I've been thinking about, because when you were talking about clothing, I'm of two minds about it, because I feel so bad. Why does a 5-year-old girl need to know, or boy for that matter, need to know that there are bad people who are looking at them sexually? You know, why can't they just be a kid and enjoy their kidness? Well, how do they know that putting on a certain garment means something to an adult? And why should they? And when do we tell them that sort of thing? Or do we only keep them in certain situations where, do you know what am I saying it in a way that I'm explaining it? I mean, when do we start telling kids, watch out, especially women? Men don't seem to understand this. Don't go walk alone, have your car keys in your hand, be suspicious because there is somebody out there waiting to grab you. You know, all the things that we've acquired.
I guess every parent has to kind of gauge and decide when they want to talk about it, and in the meantime, be the protector. I used to
I'm
fight
thinking in
with,
schools too, schools and all interactions where there are adults that are supervising children. I wouldn't leave it just to the parents.
no, definitely. Definitely, it needs to be, and I don't know that there's does anyone else who's a teacher or a professional know, you know, what is a good kind of a time to broach the subject. I mean, I remember when let's see, I was 12 when my mother gave me the little book called Growing Up and Liking It, and that kind of explained the whole thing with the period and all of that. And I don't know if parents, maybe the generations have become, no, but they haven't become younger. I don't know. I think, I mean, my grandmother got married when fairly early and had 6 kids. You know, but she had a lot of common sense. She had a lot of other odd notions too, but she did have sense enough to teach us, you know, how to dress, and that's where I learned to sew, and, you know, and all of those things. And I think I don't like to just totally blame the media, but I think there's a heavy influence on interactions between parents and children. It's, you know, they try to make it normal that kids are supposed to hate their parents, and I don't know about that, because I had great parents. I still would like to call my parents and sometimes pick up the phone even though they're dead, you know, and I'm like, oh, I gotta call mom. Oh, I need to tell dad this. And, you know, and I have a great relationship with my daughter, not that we don't fight or disagree, but there's an open communication, and I have always been as open as possible. And some people find a certain amount of openness embarrassing, you know, but I didn't find it embarrassing to just say to my daughter and her boyfriend they were in college, but I said, listen, you know, if you're having sex, please use condoms, you know, and they both looked at me like, oh my God. I said, sex can mean death. I have to deliver the message. If you don't take me up on it, that's your problem then. But you know, a lot of people won't talk like that to their children. And you know, and even that makes even the children embarrassed. I mean, she was, you know, maybe 18, 19 by then. But I there's a funny gap now between the generations where I think seniors are not spending as much time as they'd like with young people. And again, a lot of that influence is coming from the media and from their peers that they're spending so darn much time with. You know, I spent a lot of time with my family and still do, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't like their parents. And, you know, it's like the media, the television is saying, well, you're not supposed to like your parents. There's something wrong with you if you like your parents. I had a friend of mine tell me that it was unhealthy for me to talk to my daughter every day. I said, no, that's your problem. You don't talk to your mama. That's not my problem. You know, but some people think it's weird.
Great, thank you, Jane. We have a question or comment from Susan. Are you there, Susan? Susan, Susan, are you there? Then the next person, I think she was going to change. Susan, are you there? Okay, the next person was Marianne. Hi, Marianne.
Hey there. This is a wonderful night. Your artwork is beautiful.
Thank you.
It's
I'm
just
sorry there's nothing beautiful behind me. I'm in a school where in an office where I'm designing costumes, and I said, I'll be back. I've got a presentation to make. So I'm not at home surrounded by my beautiful artwork and clothing. So I'm in front of a blank wall. So I apologize for that.
it highlights your beautiful face and spirit, and that's
Thank you.
I
Thank
don't
you
know-
for your.
Did you want to share what you wrote in the chat too, Marianne?
Oh, I've written way too much. I don't even know what I wrote. But I think it's hard if we're going to say things, you know, we just have to all respect each other and come from where I'm coming from. I mean, if I were going to address somebody about their dress, I would first of all want to have a good relationship with the person. And if I really didn't have a good relationship, you know, does it need to be said if it's going to hurt them? And they don't know who I am and they feel just judged. But then I think all of us, our messages should be I messages instead of you do this or everybody saying this about you. You know, don't do that at all, because I think that is unfair. But maybe I just feel a need to say this to you because I guess it might be personally me, and I don't know if others feel the same way. They might, but or they maybe have shared, you know, an experience, situations like this. It makes me uncomfortable, you know. Maybe, you know, whatever the dress is, or I'm just concerned for you because having lived 72 years, I've seen a lot of people miss opportunities only because they chose something to wear that in the eyes of the person who is going to be making a decision or something. So to kind of get at the other person, you know, to teach it like that kind of a lesson. And if you can do it in a group as a class, I have a daughter who's in Chicago, and she would be one to tell you that many of the parents come and their children themselves, you know, and so you can't always count on the parents at all. And whether now she has an 8th grader due to, and it's her second time in 3 years that she's had an 8th grader due to deliver a baby. And, you know, even though sometimes they express their older sister gets this money and now she can buy jeans because she's got a baby and that's what I'm going to do, they really don't want to if they had informed consent. You know, the information they've had all their life, they don't have the whole ramifications of it. And so I don't know that any kids, when they say that, she would definitely know. They're so emotionally and intellectually, nothing's formed up here, you know, that they really don't, in the being that they're going to be for the rest of their life, want this decision. But they might think they do, or flippantly say it. So, you know, even if a child expresses, this is what I want to do, you know, it's a choice you make, but there are consequences. And whether it's your dress or sexuality. But the best thing you can do, I think, as a mother is, I just said to this daughter who's getting a big award, you know, and I said to her, Sasha, when at this, what do you know what you're going to wear that night? And then I just did say to her, and she's 33 years old, make sure it's modest, because a lot of people there are going to be older. Mom, you know, and she says this, but I know she reflects on that. And I know her choice because she respects and knows it came out of love. I said it was hard for me to say that, Sasha, but it's because I care about you so much. You know, she knew it came from love. And I think out of that, she will respect it. So whether it's sex or whatever, the conversations you fear having, your kids will always be happy. I'm glad she said that, because I've worried about, does she know or does she not know, and what would you do? And she took the courage to say it, and they're going to know it's out of love, especially if you were frightened to do it, you know? So I think even reveal that, say, this is a really hard thing for me to say, because the last thing I want you to be doing is having sex, and I can't even say those words, you know? But I'm going to say it to you because I care about you. If you are, you know, the way you said it, and even start with your own feelings. And then if you come from where you're at, it doesn't put so much on them, you know, whether it's what they're making or that's all from learning, you know, parenting education classes, I taught him that the more you can do the I messages, you know, then it's just not so confrontationally received as a criticism. I've talked too much. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Ann. We have a comment from Susan, and then Sharon will be up next. Hi, Susan.
I have three small comments. One is I think 100 or 200 years ago, people grew up in small villages or in houses where 3 different aunts lived with each other, and they all worked a great big farm or something like that, or whatever it was that they did, or in row houses where families lived really close to each other, and you had multiple adults around, is my guess. And the way we live now in separate little houses, in separate little suburbs, with more sort of physical and social separation between ourselves, is actually an artificial way to grow up, and we're made to have more than 2 adults, you know, helping us grow up. And so I think we should feel okay talking to the young people around us, even though it's awkward sometimes, to broach those topics, because, you know, kids weren't made to just get that all from 2 people. Some of, you know, especially if the 2 people maybe are too shy themselves or something like that, there's supposed to be aunts or uncles or cousins around that can make up for that. And I think we need to be each other's substitute aunts or uncles or cousins whenever we can be, because I really think it does take a village. And we build our community that way. I think the youth are hungry for that, and they don't even realize it. And I think when I was a youth, I was hungry for that, and I didn't realize it till decades later, you know? So, secondly, I didn't realize till decades later that I thought the emphasis on women's weight and girls' weight is a form of oppression. I think I was in my, what was I? I think I was just a little bit over 50 when I said, this is a bunch of junk, and I got rid of the scales in my house. I wasn't on a medical weight loss thing or anything like that. I just realized, you know, people have been sort of pressuring you to pay attention to your weight and to how thin you are since you're in junior high school. And they haven't been doing that to the men. And that's just wrong. And you are who you are, and take care of yourself and exercise and stuff. But we shouldn't be sending these messages of you got to be thin and gorgeous to women. Women are a lot more than how much they weigh. We should not associate our self-worth with how much we weigh. That, and I didn't really realize that till I was like 50 or something. And I was not too worried about it in general, but I've paid more attention than I should have. And I think most women do, because of the social aspect of it. And I forgot what the third thing was. Do you have the chat up, Lisa? Because my device died.
Yes. And it was it was your chat that you want me to remind you. You said that's a form of sexual oppression for them to make you take it down, in my opinion.
Oh, yes, that's it. Yeah, for them to make you take down information about sexuality and about healthy sexuality, I think that's a form of oppression of the other girls in the class. I think that's an indirect form of oppression, even if the guy who was doing it didn't realize he was doing it for that reason. And that's something bad in our culture. I have a friend who was one of the I think she worked with a program with NIH around the time of AIDS to go into the high schools and talk about condoms. And she got a lot of pushback from parents, that we don't want you teaching our kids about this. And like, well, what are you gonna do? It's real. Don't put your head in the sand and pretend that sex doesn't exist and that these aren't entire human beings, partly sexual human beings, growing up. And I like the way that she approached it. And I like that, in that day and age, they did have some schools, trying to make up for what might not have been broached at home, or for the kids that didn't have the aunts and uncles around them that were broaching the topics with them. Because it is part of our health, our community health, and our personal health. And the kids are hungry for that and don't even know it, or thirsty for that and don't even know it. Why should we make them discover that alone? What that sounds like kind of mean, to say you got to be alone and figure this out yourself, kid. That just sounds mean. But it's kind of effectively what we do when we make it taboo. Anyway, so that's my 3 cents, I guess.
Okay, great. Thank you, Susan. We have another comment from our friend Sharon.
Yeah, I'm going to take this in another way because this is getting really very interesting. I'm also known as Techno Granny. And so, I'm looking at the relationship and what's been happening tonight as we're building relationship, a community. And I think that that's really, really, really important. I find that I'm very concerned. We talk about young people, we talk about what they need, but I'm real concerned about my peers, my generation, who won't even learn the technology that has suffocated our younger people. I was sitting here as you were talking about the condom. I would say there needs to be a condom on technology. I mean, the kind of access that goes rampant. And a lot of it is that I hear too many of my peers saying, well, I don't know this, or I'm waiting for my granddaughter to show me how to use it. Well, if you're at that point where you're not even trying to learn what's obviously captivated their attention, that speaks a language to them as well, that you're not really in tune with what's going on. So whatever you have to say, they tune it out. And so and I've been doing this now, and some of the horrific things that are going on in technology, people are pushing back. The AI, artificial intelligence, the whole notion of what's grabbing not only our young, but our humanity, what it means to be human. So, all these things, we have a responsibility to them. And one very courageous young woman brought it to a group that I'm in, and she was saying, what are you doing? We need you. We need to know. But if you're going to sit down and go into the way that's comfortable for you, and you already know they're uncomfortable, even just growing up, there's got to be a bridge between. And I think we are capable of learning how they learn, at least experiential learning. It sounds like there's a lot of people here who have taught experiential learning, where you've got to experience, you've got to know, and also you've got to break through that screen so that you do have this sense of community and bring them in by your going into where their world is. And I just think it's really important for us to look at all the things that we're talking about, clothing and how we feel about others, that it really stems back to relationships. And I think that's what Barbara was talking about, that building relationships, and we can do it virtually, we can do it physically, we also have to do it generationally. And I think that there are some standards that will never go out of how to be human. And we've lost connections that need to be a part of that. So I'm really glad that we've had this deep a conversation into what it does mean to adorn yourself. It's more than just wearing the trends. There's a whole lot that goes into how you think about yourself, and also how you want other people to approach you.
Absolutely. I totally agree, Sharon, and I thank everybody for their comments and their insight. And we can all remember that clothing is a language, like language is a language, like speaking is a language, and changing your uniform to fit where you're headed is like speaking another language. It doesn't necessarily have to be your permanent being. You know, that goes to a lot of people who don't want to change anything, you know, for the job. You know, if you're working at McDonald's, you got to wear that McDonald's uniform. And, you know, and so there's nothing wrong with uniforms, and there's a great way to self-express, to express who you are and how you feel, or hide that. So it is an important language to explore. And I've learned a lot this evening, and I thank everybody for being so candid and talking. And this is exactly what I wanted to spark people to really talk and think about it, and think a little deeper than just the surface. So thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Appreciate this time.
Yes, thank you. It's such an interesting topic, you know, not only on, you know, discussing morality and self-esteem, but also different cultural differences. It can go branch off into all kinds of topics, and many things were coming to my own mind as everyone was making such valid points in this discussion. And it looks like we have other people who want to ask questions. If you want to post them in the comment or your comments, because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know Sahar is in a high school right now where she's working on the costumes for a big production, Motown production.
Come and see Motown.
And when is it? And are we allowed to come onto the school grounds if we don't have?
Absolutely. You can buy tickets. It's about selling tickets. I don't get paid unless everyone buys tickets.
Oh, so where
No, it's a public performance at Flowers High School in Prince George's County. It's on Ardmore-Ardwick Road. And the young people are amazing. That's what keeps me coming back. I've been doing costumes for this school for about 12 years. And what brings me back is the kids, being around the kids, and helping where I can. You know, I'm old school, so I won't tell you that I don't get pushback on some things, and it's from the teachers and the directors, not the kids.
Right.
It's really
Well,
interesting.
They keep you on your toes, I'm sure.
They do.
And I just wanted to invite you to join us when we have our next quarterly art salon, which is hosted by our dear friend Camila. And that will be on Wednesday, the 26th. And the theme is inspired by nature. So for anyone who's an artist of any stripe, and you can be a writer, a filmmaker, visual artist, painter, ceramicist, anything. If your work is inspired by nature, please join us and share. It's sort of share and tell format, and we're doing that on Zoom. And also, for those artists out there, we're also doing a virtual community art show hosted by Marcy Wolf Hubbard, and that's also in celebration of Earth Day, and that will be on Thursday, April 20th. So on Zoom. So you just send us your images and we can include you in that virtual exhibition. So thank you so much to Sehar Pirsada for such a wonderful journey of your creativity, and also of this larger issue that we all have a strong opinion about, which is wonderful. So thank you again for joining us.